any questions? Yes. Wait for the microphone.
Okay, I would like to know, how do I get teachers interested in this? Because I happen to know a lot of teacher students, and I find it very hard to inform them about privacy issues and get them interested.
Yeah, normally it's more easy than it looks at the first sight. The best thing is that you have a teacher friend. This makes it very easy to complain to him what he made wrong in his years before and how you can help him. The next thing is, if you have interested students, they know quite a lot better than you maybe, or than anyone else at a school, how teachers fiddle around and with which teacher you can play or not. Just ask students which teacher would be interested in such a project, and they might give you the answer. Yes, he said get the profiles of the teachers, yes. There happen to be not a teacher social network so far, I think.
There is
kind of. There is a kind of? Okay.
It's not that.
Maybe I already have a fake account in that, but I don't know it already. So from here on, it's Kai's turn.
Thank you, Christoph. So I'm going to explain to you some things about hands-on, what we're going to do in practice with the students and the kids. And first, something about general setting and organization. Of course, good idea to have a school with equipped computer rooms and stuff like this, but it's not as necessary. You can also do it in another place, like a youngsters club or something like this. And it is very important that do you things with a real practical part of it. It means you do hands-on things. That means you do at the computer, and you're also doing things without the computer. That means in the best situation you have a huge room where you have on one side a lot of computers where you can do practical stuff, and on the other side you got, for instance, a large table where you can sit and have your short input talks and discussions with the students. That means you're not always sitting at a computer. That's very important. And of course, what's very helpful, that the kids bring their own stuff. Of course, not everyone has a laptop, but mostly nowadays everyone has a USB drive or a USB thumb drive, as you can see. And just announce them before, please bring your own stuff. We will use it during the workshop. And it's, on the other side, very helpful if some of you in your group is not as old as maybe we two. It's maybe easier if you find some, for instance, teenagers in your group that are also kids at the school or in this age. For instance, we've got 2 younger participants in our group, and they are much, so to say, for them it's much easier to explain what is going on in the social network services and to explain at the beginning about the settings and so on. Those about the general setting, not all, but most important ones. And now what about explaining technical details? I'll just show you later on some examples. For most of us here, of course, we know about these things, encryption and whatever. But for most teenagers, it's, I don't know what about, I don't care. And that's why it's very helpful to explain it, of course, as easy as possible, but not more, even not too easy, of course, and explain it with comparisons to the real world. And later on I will show you some examples of this. For instance, that you can protect your own data with mainly in three different styles or 3 different kinds. The first is, as you can see, you have something, and in the real world you got a key to enter your house, a room, whatever. The second opportunity is that you know something. Just explain them that you need, for instance, for social network services, a password, or for instance, at a bank, you need and a cash machine and an ATM, you need your 4-digit PIN number. And of course, at least you are someone with biometrical data. Of course, good idea to explain them. It's not a good idea to use this kind of security because most of us know it doesn't work at all at the moment. So just explain them, and this is the most important. Knowing something is important, and it is knowing that this password that you're using for most of the social network services must be secure. And here are some examples. First of all, we've done some settings in social network services. That means 2 of our colleagues that are younger than us, explaining them by detail at the computer while the students are doing the same at their own computers. What about settings in those services like Schüler.cc, Facebook, and whatever? For instance, switching off that everyone can see your pictures or any other stuff. And after this turnaround, or maybe it's a good idea to not do it only in one of those social network services. Maybe you do it in 2 or 3 of the most important ones. At the beginning, of course, it's a good idea to know about what they're using, and in Germany, for school kids, it's mostly Schüler.cc and SchülerVZ and other services. And then you're deciding 2 or 3 of them, and then just go on the setting page and just explain them all these parts, what it is about, and what does it mean if I switch this on or off, or select different settings. As I said before, good idea to speak about secure passwords. And of course, most of them, they're using just those 4, 5, 6 digits, and not a good idea. Then explain them this really easy opportunity to remember a hard and a tough password. If you remember just a sentence and using the first letters, like I don't like to remember passwords, and using this ID and so on, is much better than your own name or something like this. And then force them to think about a new password, and to create a new password. And later on, and this is very important, you use it. You're using this password for changing it or in social network services, or using it at the last part that we are also going to do for data encryption. We have shown those kids how to create TrueCrypt containers on an USB thumb drive. You can do also a lot of other stuff, but in our opinion, most of this encryption software is not that usable, and TrueCrypt is one of those that is, in our opinion, most easiest one, and of course with a lot of other advantages. And that's why a good idea, the password that you have created before, to use it directly in the next step. That means they bring their own thumb drive, you are installing TrueCrypt on their laptops, or you install it on the computers, and after that you create a container on a USB drive and explain them how it works and how to use this. And if they know that this container, the data that is contained in this container are really protected, and even the teacher is not in the possibility to read this stuff, they are really interested in, especially if they're saving the stuff also on storage network drives where normally the computer administrator of the school has also access to. If they know even the administrator can't read it, they're really interested in. So, at the end, after the hands-on, we just want some things from you. We give you some information, and what we want from you is, first of all, join us enlightening school kids, teenagers, and students about privacy and how to take care of this.
Yeah, we actually need all of you to join us, because it happened to be that at a school there are 60 teachers and normally 600 school kids, and about those 60 teachers, and where like 3 or 4 understands the things, 1 has a time, and the other is interested in doing something more than he already does. So please help us in enlightening more and more. You already have the knowledge. You just need to find a teacher. He got the didactic skills, you got the knowledge. It's totally fine, but please join us.
So, and as Christoph is speaking about teachers, join us enlightening teachers first. That's important.
Yeah, definitely is. I have worked with them. It definitely is.
So, what we're also interested in, tell us about your experiences, if you're, for instance, doing something similar, or what are about your experiences at schools. And, of course, we already started creating teaching materials, and we're always interested in improving it, and by doing this with your support would be a great idea. So at the end, are there any questions?
Two suggestions. The first one, you said the pupils should bring their own stuff. There are pupils who can't, who don't have any. You should provide something for them. The second one is, why don't you contact the local Erfa-Kreise or CCC clubs? There are sometimes pupils in the age of these kids who can inform them about these things. And I think they will take them serious because they're the same age.
For the first question, yes, of course, it's important that you also got some stuff. For instance, at the school, not everyone can bring his own one. That we have done, and I guess it's mostly possible to have some laptops prepared. And in our case, it never wasn't a problem at all.
Yeah, and at our last privacy workshop, we had 10 USB pen drives with us for those who can't afford an own.
Yeah, and for instance, USB thumb drives nowadays, for instance, to have a kind of an attraction or so, you can buy 10 for some euro or somewhere and just give them away at the end. Also a good idea, and it's no more that expensive than before. And about the second question, if you wanted to add something about Erfa and CCC local.
Yeah, the problem with Erfa and CCC Kreises in Siegen is there are
There's
none.
no one.
We are the only one who knows who are actually doing anything in this field. And yes, you can ask Erfa-Kreises and hacker groups to enlighten students, but the thing is, when and where? The good thing about making those things at school is that you have a place, a PC pool, like my school happens to have a completely new PC pool with friendly light and colors where you actually like to be in. And so we had the room. The next thing is when you have to organize like 10 to 14 students at the same time somewhere. This is not easy when you try to do this without school. We tried it. We sent invitations to nearly all the 40 schools around Siegen and invited as many students as possible to come. And actually, I show you with my fingers the number of students come. 0, except 3 good friends of colleagues of us. This is the thing. When you do it at school, you have a teacher who can actually force the students to their luck. Yeah? Okay, if you don't want to lose your grades, please come to us at Saturdays. Yes, you can do it.
Don't you invite these people to the school at the time you teach them? Should be possible.
Which people, the students or Erfa-Kreises? Yeah, okay, sure you can do this. It's always a good idea to have more knowledge around, but we actually there is none. There are no in Siegen. Okay, next question.
Yeah. Two ideas. One is, in order to get all the teachers, you need to get to the computer science teachers. So if you teach get the computer science teachers interested in showing how these things work, they will tend to bring it into their schools with things that they do. As a card-carrying mother of a teenager, I just have another idea of how you can be getting to them. I had put up a picture of my son many, many years ago when he was cute, sort of half naked. And it was on Google, of course. It was Googleable. And I'm seeing many, many parents putting up pictures of their kids when they're small. And when one of his friends discovered this, Googling his name, it was, of course, utterly embarrassing. And we had to go to a lot of trouble to find a human being at Google to get rid of this picture. It might be a good idea to also not just look at their own profiles, but see if you can find out their parents. Do their parents have Facebook, Flickr accounts and have everything public so that it's possible to get 1 or 2 choice pictures of them being little kids, and maybe that will also help them to embarrass them enough to say, oh, we've got to do something about this, and have a nice fight with their parents, explaining science to their parents.
This is a very, very good idea, and we did something like that in a bit at our last privacy workshop. We made a contest